Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. Today, the panel will decide which two of these 6 players will be in their ultimate one-day international 11. Sachin Tendulkar seems favourite to make the cut. The others remaining Tilakaratne Dilshan, Rohit Sharma, Hashim Amla, Saeed Anwar and Chris Gayle. It's day 2 of our Ultimate 11 ODI discussions. On Wednesday, the panel cut the list from 12 to 6. Remember, you can still vote from the full list of 12 by selecting your team at www.sportsmax/ultimate. The online votes are worth 40% of the overall decision. The zone team's selections, which will be revealed today, carry 30%, as does the selection of the panel. Let's have a look at the online numbers. Chris Gayle is leading the online votes with 24%. Rohit Sharma comes next with 22%, ahead of Sachin Tendulkar, 20%. Saeed Anwar is 10% and Matthew Hayden, 8%. Remember, you have until Friday, June 5th to vote. Well, George's favourite, Sanath Jayasuriya, was caught by the panel yesterday, and he's not doing too well. Online with just 2% of the votes, I guess George will have to find a new favourite. He will lead this first segment of the discussion alongside Lance.
Yes, so I can tell the viewers that there is an article on sportsmax.tv entitled ODI Innovator Jayasuriya Fails to Make Ultimate 11 Grade, written by our good friend Paul Andre Walker. And it says, I'm reading a little bit of it for you. I'm stealing time, Mr. Producer. The Ultimate 11 ODI editions discussions have started with a bang as George Davis of the SportsMax Zone and the selection panel got into it over who should make the final 6 from the short list of openers. There wasn't much opposition to the panel cutting Desmond Haynes, but there were ripples when Adam Gilchrist, a man who has 3 World Cup winning innings under his belt, was told he didn't stack up well enough to make the final 6. However, major rifts developed when Sanath Jayasuriya did not find favour with 2 of the 3 panelists. Thank the Lord for Fazir. With 2/3 objecting to his appearance in today's final, Jayasuriya had to go, and according to the panel, so far, despite George's appeals for reconsideration, Paul Andre Walker is agreeing that the panel called it right when it comes to Jayasuriya. I can tell you I'm still not pleased, but we must move on, and so I'm trudging on, not running like a diesel engine on a flat road, but I'm just trudging on because I have to go on. Today's panel includes international commentator, a good friend of mine, not because he picked Jayasuriya yesterday, but Fazir Mohammed. He's a scholar and a gentleman. Cardigan Connor, those of you who listen to your Cricket Plus commentaries of West Indies games over time will know the eloquent voice of the highly respected Cardigan Connor. Love to hear when Pastor Stevenson Worm say, "Tell me, Cardi." But yeah, Pastor Worm is not on this broadcast. Good afternoon to you wherever you are. Former medium-fast bowler for English county side Hampshire. Yeah, that's what Cardigan Connor is famous for in his playing days. And our statistician Zahir Clark, along with the dapper Sachin Ramsubag, who has returned to expatiate more on the things that interest him in cricket. All right, so let's go, gentlemen. Good afternoon to you all. Cardigan, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. Perhaps it's the first time you've been with us, certainly the first time in my 4 years with the SportsMax Zone. A special welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. It's always a pleasure.
Excellent.
It's always a pleasure. It's been on before, but obviously not in the last 4 years.
There you go. You stayed away too long. Sachin, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you and to all the viewers as well. Indeed, it is a pleasure to come back after that much tough job of the test match selections. And indeed, I think this one may just be a little bit easier because our stats can only start from the year 1971.
Excellent. And Zahir, welcome back. Welcome again, my friend.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to today's program and picking these openers for sure.
Excellent. Hail Fazir.
You know, I was seriously going to disconnect my Wi-Fi after you all got rid of Adam Gilchrist so quickly. But again, I did give myself a commitment to being on it. So for what it's worth, here I am.
All right, just before we go, gentlemen, I must tell you that on Friday's show, we're going to be showing some of the comments that our viewers have sent in to us about the ultimate test 11, because they're not forgiving Sachin nor Zahir for what they did in those selections. I'm not saying they're responsible for this, but most of the viewers are peeved with what happened with Viv Richards, although one person said that Viv Richards cannot bat like Sachin Tendulkar's left hand. only for another viewer to say, go and stand in the corner because your reasoning of cricket is at kindergarten level. So we're going to post some of those on Friday's show for your digestion. Yeah?
There was something else that person said, George, apart from saying that he can't bat like Sachin Tendulkar with his left hand. He said Viv Richards could not make an all-time West Indies team.
I didn't want to spoil that part, lads, when you gave it away. Yes, it was said that Viv Richards could not make an all-time West Indies Test 11. So it just goes to show you that we have some analysts, some finalists, and some others in the world of cricket. Everybody has a voice.
It shows that insanity is alive and well. That's what it shows.
All right. Let me go around the room to start. Cardi, you're the fresh guy in the spotlight. Let's start with you. We have a final 6, and we're going to put their pictures up on the screen, Cardigan Connor. And I want you to tell me what you see when you look at these men. Cardi, anytime now. Tendulkar, Amla, Gayle, Dilshan, Sharma, and Saeed Anwar.
Obviously, very, very impressive cricketers. In fact, to make the final 6, obviously, that speaks for itself. For me, as over the years, having watched a number of these players, and in fact played against a couple of them, I cannot help but admire their contribution to the game, to the success.
Cardi's connection just conked out. All right, let's give him some time to get back online. Let me go to Sachin. Sachin, are you hearing me?
Yes, I am, and indeed I am seeing this lovely set of players in front of us. Are we talking about Hashim Amla, the guy who reached the fastest to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, even 5,000 and 6,000 runs at ODI level. Christopher Henry Gayle, magnificent master blaster. He named himself the universe boss. Tilakaratne Dilshan, excellent with the bat. A tremendous fielder close in, especially at that backward point region. Very handy off spinner as well. Are we talking about Sachin Tendulkar? I think in this list, I mean, Tendulkar is not on their screen there, but you know what? Sachin Tendulkar, it's either Sachin, hopefully the other panelists can assist me with.
Cardi, we lost you at the point where you were saying that you've played against some of these 6 that have made the shortlist for the ODI opening positions. Can you pick up, please?
Sure, and that wasn't to be biased in my selection. But again, as I said, these are guys who've contributed greatly to the success of their teams. And again, as I said, to have these 6 in our panel of those who we would like to select 2, then I obviously think that is something that I'm honored to be part of. But Tendulkar, yes, for sure. And when we talk about the others, I think that Chris Gayle, I know Chris Gayle has to be the other standout, because I'm sure whenever he's playing against anybody, the main focus would be on how do we get rid of him, because if he bats for half the number of overs, generally the West Indies or the team that he plays for will win the game. And again, I rate him very highly when it comes to the one-day games. And over the years as well, you know, before his back injury, he played a vital role with the ball as well. And, you know, he had decent hands himself. So he's someone that I definitely would have in my as my other opener to Tendulkar.
Yep, the Liverpool man on the panels, Fazir Mohammed, will have to wait, just like how his team will have to wait for the EPL title. I'm going to go to Zahir now. Zahir, these guys in the final 6 have some tremendous numbers, perhaps even some obscene numbers we can attribute to each of these 6 men. How do you boil it down when you look at the creme de la creme?
Boiling it down is very difficult. Like Fazir, I was considering either turning off my computer today or running to the store or something, because deciding these, it's very difficult. We have somebody like Saeed Anwar, who once was the world record holder after he broke Viv record. We know about Chris Gayle's quality. Tendulkar was the first to score a double century, I believe, in ODI. Sharma, who has the highest inning ever in ODI. Amla, the person who has broken all the records that Viv had in terms of getting to these landmarks, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 runs. So we know that this group is very, very, very good. And to separate them, we have to now start looking at certain parameters in terms of their appetite for runs, and also the appetite to score these landmark figures like these centuries and stuff like that. So that's how we're going to have to separate them, because the quality among the six is exceptional.
Fazir, does quantitative or qualitative analysis assist you better in distilling among this group of six?
Well, if you go quantity, then basically you're picking everyone from the subcontinent, because they play far more one-day cricket than anybody else, and therefore their numbers, as far as the aggregates, would be more impressive. But really, it's a situation that, sorry to bring it up, but the issue of leaving out Gilchrist or leaving out even a Desmond Haynes, you're talking about men who won World Cup. So are we picking players because of their overall numbers, or are we picking impact players? Are we picking players who are more than likely to deliver on the day? Because if you look at the numbers of the final six, three of them are completely out of consideration, because they're all three: Dilshan, Saeed Anwar, and I'm thinking of the third name that comes to mind.
Rohit Sharma.
They average. No, Chris Gayle. They average under 40. So they shouldn't even be in the reckoning if we're talking about it as far as the averages are concerned, and it should be a straight shootout between Tendulkar, Sharma and Amla, because they all average close to 50. But there's a lot more to it than that, which I think is why sometimes it's interesting when we are called upon to make these selections. Are we selecting someone who we consider to be the best over the long haul, or someone who is going to deliver on any given day, someone who's going to deliver that explosive performance, like Asana Jayasuriya, that could win you a match or win you a World Cup?
That's why you're part of the panels, Fazir, because we can count on you to give us that perspective. I want to go to Sachin to talk about Rohit Sharma, because if ever there was a poster boy for cricket selectors to persevere with undoubted talent, I would suggest, Sachin, that Rohit Sharma is that poster boy, because his talent was never in doubt, but he's been woefully inconsistent, and maybe more weak-hearted cricket selectors and administrators would have dispensed with him a long time, but he has always managed to grip tightly when he's playing white ball cricket to convince the Indian selectors to give him a shot in the test arena and to persevere with him in the ODI format. I'm saying to you that Rohit Sharma is outstanding by any measure, Sachin. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly do agree. If you remember, Rohit Sharma was given his chance when Yuvraj Singh fell down to an injury, and then he really stood up tall for India. It was almost like a battle. Which one should be selected? But Rohit Sharma was that person selected. He has been in and out, as you mentioned, of the Indian senior team. But you know what? Over the last 5 years, if you want to say from the years 2015 to currently 2020, he has certainly developed his consistency. It has been more reckoning than 30s to 40s. He has been pushing further, converting those 40s into centuries, and he's probably the most explosive player at the top of the innings currently in ODI cricket. He has 3 double centuries, guys. 3 scores of 200 runs. He's the highest run scorer in ODI cricket, 264. Some teams do not even get to 264 in ODI cricket these days. One man got that score, Rohit Sharma, and he's a class player. Loves the pull shot, loves the cover drive. He plays sorts of risky shots that you think this man is crazy, but he masters those shots. You know what? Rohit Sharma really is standing out, and I agree with you, George, that he is somewhat inconsistent early in his career. However, in the last 5 years, he has certainly developed some consistency and really cemented his spot in the Indian ODI team.
But Cardi, if we were to go from what Fazir has said about some of the men left out of this 6 who were dropped on yesterday's show, isn't there a point to be made, Cardigan Connor, for assessing a player to say, okay, this player at his very, very, very best, how then is Desmond Haynes or Adam Gilchrist at their devastating best inferior to anybody on the list as we look to come down to only 2 openers, Cardi?
Well, again, I think it's a challenge of choices. When you think of the players that are left out, when I look at Adam Gilchrist, I think I see him as one that as Fazir mentioned, was a match winner. And in fact,
well said.
He just set the tone for the success that Australia had, and you could see the leadership qualities within him. So he's someone that I rated very highly. Matthew Hayden was someone that I actually played with at Hampshire. In fact, I played against both of them. But of the two, Gilchrist was the one that you almost felt was going to lead the charge. In the case of someone like a Desmond Haynes, I think it was at a time when he really was the rock in the West Indies team, and a lot of the success that was built around the West Indies team came from Desmond Haynes, at the top of the order. He was the one that was generally given the responsibility of seeing the innings through. And when we talk about batsmen that have been successful, it is not, especially as openers, they're the ones that you would like to think can bat through an innings. So again, when you think of the likes of Rohit Sharma, Tendulkar, so you're looking at people like that to say that they're the ones that generally you would want to have in your team. In the case of getting back to Chris Gayle, I think his biggest challenge has been the number of different partners he's had at the other end. Very rarely would we remember who his partners were because, no disrespect, but half the time they were insignificant.
Yep, and that's the point I want to come to you with now, Zahir. I've read some of what has been written so far on social media about Chris Gayle surviving until the final six. And in opposition to the case Cardi's made for Chris Gayle, people are saying, but yeah, Chris Gale's consistency. Mariah, we're getting close to that point when we have to cut some people, eh?
Yeah, definitely. And I can't help but agree with Zahir, because when we're picking an ODI team, George and Lance, and of course the panelists, we have to think about somebody that's going to be consistent every time they step on the field. If I'm picking my best 11, I'm not going to pick somebody that wakes up today and decides to perform, and then for the rest of the tournament, they just don't show up. So for me, I agree with Zahir on that point. And before we go to break, it's definitely Sachin +1, right? So yesterday we cut 6, and today we continue with the cutting. We take a short break and we come back. The ultimate ODI Cricket 11. Our expert panel is getting ready to vote on which 2 players they want to occupy the opening positions for the SportsMax Ultimate One Day International 11. They have been deliberating on the final list of 6. Lance will lead this segment as they make their final arguments. Lance and George, it's over to you.
Yeah, well, let's make it clear, first of all, that we're talking about the panelist selections at the moment. I know, Mariah, you were upset at Gilchrist's omission from yesterday, and George isn't happy with Janet Sarah's omission as well. But the zone team has its own selection of the players, regardless of what the panelists have said. So Jayasuriya and Gilchrist still remain prominent in the minds of the zone team. But as we said, this is the segment where the panelists will make their final decisions regarding the 6 players we have here. So that list, as we said, Anwar, Sharma, Dilshan, Amla, Chris Gayle, and Sachin Tendulkar. Seems from what we've heard so far that Sachin Tendulkar, and even online, is shoo-in for one of the opening spots. Cardigan, let's start with you. We've got to start cutting here because it's only 2 openers for this Ultimate 11, as you know. Yeah. Okay, so the players, Cardi, that you think are best placed to challenge for the 2 spots. Let's start there.
Well, as I said at the top of the show, I think Tendulkar picks himself. I think that under any conditions, he's proven to be the quality batsman that can obviously can see the innings through. And the other person that I mentioned is Chris Gayle. I think there was a time when if he did have a challenge, it was mainly with the left arm swinging bowler, not just a left-arm fast bowler, but one that swung the ball. But I think if you consider that over the years, fastest of the fastest that he had faced, and a lot of the time that is intimidation that batsmen have to deal with. And and he's put the best of them to shame. So he's someone, I think, considering what we've got as a team, he's certainly someone that I would have as my number 2 opening batsman.
All right, Sachin, obviously, he has over 18,000 ODI runs, far more than any other player on the current list, and 49 ODI hundreds as well. No other player on this list has close to that number of hundreds for Sachin. Fazir, Cardi is saying for him at the moment, Chris Gayle and Sachin Tendulkar are the 2 players that stand out for him from the current list of 6 that we're looking at. Do you agree with that?
Sachin Tendulkar part, and far be it from me to disagree with my colleague from CMC Cricket Plus, but I certainly think the other 2 who I see vying for that position alongside Sachin Tendulkar would be Rohit Sharma and Hashim Amla. Again, because it's a situation where you're talking about world-class players and you basically have to make a personal decision. And in choosing between Rohit Sharma and Hashim Amla to accompany Sachin Tendulkar, I've thought about it carefully. I've looked at their numbers. You look at the consistency. You looked at the how their careers would have progressed and so on. But the ultimate decider for me was who had a beard and who didn't. So I'm going with Hashim Amla instead of Rohit Sharma.
Faz, you're a trip. I have to tell you that. Sachin, your track record suggests in the past from our Test cricket discussions that you've been responsible for a couple of stunning decisions on this show. Do you have one for us today?
You know, a lot of persons are saying Chris Gayle certainly deserves that spot, and obviously the fans are voting towards that level. Unfortunately, Chris Gayle is that type of player. When he shows up for cricket, he can either blast 100 from 50 deliveries, or he can either be dismissed on the very first ball. Chris Gayle actually has 25 ducks in ODI cricket. He's ranked among the top 10 persons with the most ducks in one-day international. Putting that aside, I think Chris Gayle, he is really a fantastic, explosive batsman. If you're talking T20 cricket, certainly it would be Chris Gayle and somebody else. But for one-day international cricket, based on his consistency and his average, I want to make the comparison between him and Rohit Sharma. Those are the guys that will be vying for my second position. But I think Christopher Henry Gayle might unfortunately not make the cut for me personally because of that that way he carries about himself in terms of his batting. He is a bit inconsistent. Explosive one day, and that's the end of it. 5-match series, he makes that score for 1, and that's it. No more for the rest of the innings, the rest of the series, unfortunately. That's the way it has to go for me. So it's going to be Sachin Tendulkar and possibly Rohit Sharma or either Hashim Amla. I have just about 3 minutes to decide, but I'm not going to be going in the direction of Fazir Mohammed. Clearly, my beard isn't long enough.
Sachin, you weren't on Wednesday's show. Does it annoy you any that Gilchrist and Jayasuriya were cut from the list yesterday?
Yeah, I was expecting Mr. Sanath Jayasuriya to be there. He was the man who started the thing where you must score 100 runs in the first 10 overs or that's it, you're going to lose the match. Unfortunately, he left a bit too early, I think. Also, Adam Gilchrist, he would occupy the position of a wicketkeeper together with that opening position, which will allow you either an extra batsman or an extra bowler or possibly an additional all-rounder. So it basically opens up your options there if you do have Adam Gilchrist on top of the innings. But you know what? I think Sanath Jayasuriya, my goodness, he's really a hero for Sri Lanka. And if you look at the way he carried about himself, he was basically the Sri Lankan Chris Gayle, if you want to put it that way. Bit inconsistent at times, getting 30s, 40s, not able to push on for the big century. But yeah, I'm going to go back to today. Sachin Tendulkar standing in position number 1, opening with either Rohit Sharma or Hashim Amla. I need to make my decision quickly, guys. Hopefully you all can assist me with that.
All right. I saw Zahir nodding a bit while you were speaking there, but Zahir, anything that you would want to challenge from any of the previous panelists?
Well, I must disagree with what something Cardigan said earlier, and I know that as a Jamaican, my citizenship might be revoked very quickly by going against Chris Gayle when it comes to this panel. However, for me, I'm not knocking Chris Gayle. He has been an excellent player, but when we stack him up against the others on this list, and see his rate of production, whether you look at the averages on a whole, whether you look at how they score the hundreds, or what percentage of his innings. Chris Gayle is scoring 100, only 9% of the innings that he opened in ODI cricket. While you look at somebody like a Sharma or Tendulkar or even Amla, they are over 13% and higher. Some of them even close to 20% of the innings they are scoring a century. So that's one of the reasons why, for me, Chris Gayle would not be in it. The persons for me who are very close to the top, and I agree with Fazir, it's going to be a ding-dong battle between Sharma, Amla, and Tendulkar for those 2 spots at the top.
Okay, Mariah, we're getting close to the decision time, aren't we?
Yeah, we definitely are about to do some more cutting. The final decision from the panel will also include the votes of Chris Taylor and Zahir Clark, who were both on yesterday's show. Chris has selected Tendulkar and Zahir chose Tendulkar and Hashim Amla. It's time for today's panel to vote. Fazir, I'll start with you. Who are your 2 openers?
I said it basically, and yes, it's a bit of a joke about the beard, but the fact is that his record stands up as well. My opening pair will be Sachin Tendulkar and Hashim Amla. Chris Gayle doesn't make the cut.
I move along now to Sachin. Sachin plus who?
Yeah, absolutely, Mariah. You hit the nail on the head. You know, it is going to be Sachin Tendulkar, and I'm going to be looking like I'm biased here. However, I'm going to go with Rohit Sharma, the guy with 3 double centuries, highest score of 264, still at least 3 or 4 years of cricket in him. I'm sure he's going to surpass Chris Gayle's 10,000 plus. So certainly, Sachin Tendulkar and Rohit Sharma for me.
All right, I move along now to Zahir. Zahir, are you going to stick with Sachin as well, or are you going to switch up on us?
I think you guys preempted my picks earlier, but Sachin Tendulkar and Amla for me are the 2 picks. And the reason why I'm not going with Sharma is simply because the amount of matches he has played opening. What I did, I looked at all of these players and evaluated them opening, because I consider the opening position a specialist position in the ODI game. And for me, because Sharma has not played enough matches in that opening position for me compared to the others, I'm going to stick with those who have more experience, Amla and Tendulkar for me for sure.
Maybe it's just me, but you know, Hashim Amla doesn't really excite me. I can understand his figures are extremely high, average and whatnot, but if I had to pick, Amla is not in my pick. I move along now to Cadigan.
Yes, for me, Sachin Tendulkar, and I still will stick with Chris Gayle. I think he was something different to the others. You know, the challenge is trying to find reasons to leave the others out, and I think that's the hardest part. And again, as I said, Sachin Tendulkar definitely. Chris Gayle, I think he's a match winner. I mean, and his style of play is very different to the rest, and I think that's why I would have gone with him.
All right, so George and Lance, before we move along and we're about to reveal the persons that have been cut and the ones remaining, you all have any disagreements with what took place based on what our panel had to say? Sachin seems to be a favorite.
Well, based on the list that we are now left with, and just judging from what the panelists have said, because our zone team will pick from the original 12, most of what has been said I agree with. I do agree, though, that Sachin is pretty much a shoo-in, and then what happens after that is pretty tough. I'm seeing Fazir's line of argument that it is really difficult to zone in on some of these selections, given the fact that they have so much to offer. All of these players have so much to offer, and if you want to compartmentalize what they have to offer and suggest consistency as against what they can do on their best day and their match-winning potential, then you can argue either way for many of the players on the list.
George, does Amla do it for you?
Oh, yes. I heard you say that he didn't excite you, but he was that kind of player. He wasn't a player who would be an exciting player, but in terms of effectiveness, and that's what you want. There's a point made about Chris Gayle that I think is a solid point, and Zahir backed the point up with the numbers. 9% of centuries in ODI cricket. The thing is this, of the final 6, if you were to bank on anybody making a century for you, if it was required of them to make a century in a final against a top team with the pressure at its highest, Chris Gayle's record shows that he was unlikely to deliver for you in that regard. And I would agree with Zahir's point from that perspective to sidestep the Jamaican. But I'm still bitter about what happened to Jayasuriya on Wednesday's show, but I'll accept the views of the panelists who contributed to him falling out.
Are we at that point where we're about to reveal who the panelists picked?
We go to the zone picks first.
Zone picks first?
George is upset about Jayasuriya being left out. Well, the zone team had their pick, so he'll be more upset if he finds out that Jayasuriya isn't there.
Yes.
And he isn't.
Yeah.
So you've got a double blow, George.
I'm actually disappointed with the zone team as well, because why, you know, Sachin made the point today and Fazir made the point yesterday. Why wouldn't you pick Gilchrist if you're getting two great, like, okay, he can bat brilliantly, he can score, he's attacking, and you get him to wicketkeeper, and it's not like he's a basic wicketkeeper. He's one of the best wicketkeepers, and then you open up a position for somebody else if he decides to fail, which he will not. Would it
soften your anger, though, if he's picked as a wicketkeeper?
I guess. We'll see what you all decide to do, because clearly I'm on my own.
No, he has strong claims for real. But Rohit Sharma and Sachin Tendulkar, the picks for the zone.
I think we need to have one-on-one conversations in the zone.
Well, the zone upset me in the test team already, so I have nothing more to say about the zone picks.
All right, so do we reveal now, Lance? Or do...
The panelists. Well, we heard them just now, but the producers are compiling the statistics on them, and in just a moment we'll see who the panelists have selected overall. So there it is, Sharma and Tendulkar, the same two openers the panelists have as the zone team has.
George doesn't have much to say, George.
No, I mean, you know, it's like you're picking from a crate of VVS diamonds. Yeah, maybe you like this one because it's oval shaped. Maybe you like this one because it's the traditional diamond shape, but they're all diamonds. So I don't think anybody can feel any disgrace from not making the top two, because they've made a top 6 and a top list of 12. So they're all outstanding players that we're picking amongst.
Well, I mean, today the top decision of narrowing down. So we went from 12 to 6 today, where we have zoned in on our 2 openers for the ODI. Of course, I want to thank the panel for joining us in this difficult task. And of course, you've heard who we named as our zone openers. Of course, I invite you to join us again as we continue the SportsMax Ultimate One-Day International Team. Remember, your votes matter, so log on to www.sportsmax.tv/ultimate and select your team to be a part of the process. Join us tomorrow when we'll start our discussion on batsmen positions 3 to 5.